If you are somebody who's on a healing journey or someone who has been battling with fibroids, then this video is going to be perfect for you. A lot of people, when they're on this journey, tend to focus on their diet and their lifestyle. But one of the key things that we don't pay enough attention to are the spiritual and emotional aspects of the healing journey. So today I want to share with you some of my personal stories and experiences of things that I've been using on my healing journey. Hey there, loved ones. Welcome to Fully Loving Yourself. My name is Science Star J. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. Before we get started, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a video. Over here, we're talking about holistic self-care and wellness, where I'm sharing my personal experiences and stories on my healing journey. So if that is something that you're into, please consider joining my loved ones community by hitting that subscribe button. Okay, so for a long time, I did not even realize how much my emotional health was affecting my body until I got into one of the most toxic relationships ever in life. And once I got out of that relationship, that's when I started experiencing real serious issues with my fibroids. Now, I honestly believe that I've had these fibroids for a long time. And as we get into the video, you'll understand why. Because of more childhood trauma and things that I hadn't processed and as I started to do more research and learning how much emotional trauma can actually impact the body in a physical way, the dots started to connect and things started to make more sense. I am very open about the fact that I battled with fibroids and some of the things that I've been doing on my journey of complete healing of my body. I shared my journey of transitioning to plant-based and getting back into the gym and using different things like yoga and mindset and journaling in order to help my body to heal from fibroids. If you want to know more about my fibroid healing journey, I have a playlist that I will link for you in the description box below, or I will post the video up here. So since being diagnosed with fibroids back in 2020, I share a lot of my backstory in the other videos, but I dealt with a gut health issue that it took me 1.5 years to clear up, and due to me struggling with the gut health issue, that had an impact on how long it took for me to deal with and treat the fibroids. I also was under a lot of stress during that time too, and stress is a big part of fibroid growth and healing as well. And I was noticing that even though I was successful at changing my diet and I lost 50 pounds and I was feeling better and the fibroid symptoms went away, I still was dealing with some of that belly bulge that makes the fibroids hard and not look pleasant. I kept beating myself up and asking, like, what could it be? So I took some courses and I did some more research and I read some books. I also have a video on the 5 books that I've been using on my fibroid healing journey as well. So during my research, I learned that fibroids and other diseases and ailments can stem from emotional trauma in the body. I learned that stress and emotional trauma and unresolved feelings can actually manifest as physical conditions. And I thought that because I had been in therapy for the last 20 years that could not have been the case for me. But then I started really thinking about if I was healed from the things that I went through and the things that were tormenting me and things that I was struggling to let go. I was questioning whether or not therapy was actually working. And so the type of therapy that I was doing is called cognitive behavioral therapy. And that's more so talk therapy. And I'm like, I'm talked out. And I noticed that even with that, the anxiety and the PTSD was still there. So in 2018, I went to school for massage therapy. And I'll never forget an experience that I personally had when I was getting a massage myself. I had got a massage from one of my classmates, and during the massage, I started crying to the point where it was like uncontrollable crying. I could not get my body to stop crying. I had to excuse myself, and I didn't understand what had happened to me. And my teacher explained to me that my body had had a somatic release. And so what that means is that there are memories that are stored in our muscles and the tissue of our body. And that sent me down this rabbit hole of trying to learn more about this process. So after having that experience and being in therapy, I decided that I wanted to try a different form of therapy. So I started to seek out therapists who practice EMDR therapy. And what EMDR therapy is eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy. And I know y'all probably like, girl, what are you talking about? EMDR is a type of psychotherapy that is meant to help people process traumatic experiences and PTSD that was used for veterans. And I learned about this in 2022 when I became a digital marketing strategist for a brand that actually helped veterans with their PTSD by giving them access to practitioners that practice EMDR. And thank God I'm just a naturally curious person, because when I see things like that, I want to get to know more about it. And if I mess this up throughout this video, please charge it to my mind and not my heart, because it's EMDR, and sometimes I'll say EDMR, but it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy. I'm gonna get it together, y'all. But studies show that EMDR can actually help reduce the intensity of the traumatic events over time. And people who have experienced this type of therapy show significant improvement in their emotional well-being. For me, in my experience, it wasn't just about processing the past, it also was helping the fibroid symptoms as well. Going through the EMDR therapy is allowing me to deal with a lot of unresolved trauma and let go of a lot of stress. And if I'm being completely honest, I am somebody who struggles with letting go of my feelings and letting go of emotions and processing things the correct way. I hold on to a lot of things that I feel, and when we do that, that energy gets stored in our womb. And I'm retracing thoughts and feelings and events and traumatic experiences that I've had ever since I was a child. And I can recall that I started having issues with my cycle when I was a teenager. And one of the biggest traumatic experiences that I had when I was a teenager was losing my mother. I lost my mother at the age of 14 years old. And there were so many other traumatic experiences that I dealt with at a young age that I never got to process with anybody. And for whatever reason, the talk therapy just wasn't working. And so how EMDR therapy works is that it helps you to identify the traumatic experience that may be stuck in a certain part of the brain where it's not supposed to be. There is a more like technical and psychological correct way of explaining this, but the way that I understand it and I can communicate it is that the negative experiences get stuck in a certain part of the brain and they have to reprocess and move through to the correct part of the brain. So when I decided that I was going to start this new form of therapy, I was specific about the type of practitioner that I wanted to see. I specifically sought out a woman, a Black woman, who would understand the experiences that I had. And it was also more of a connection thing for me too. Going through this type of therapeutic experience, you have to allow yourself to be very vulnerable. I honestly would say that this has to be something that you're really ready for, because you really got to dig deep and go into a lot of the traumatic experiences that you've had. And to be honest, that could be scary for some people, but I knew that this was something that I have to do. This is something that I had to do in order to experience complete healing. So in my first sessions with the EMDR, what we did was we identified the traumatic experiences that I could recollect, and I wrote them down, and she wrote them down, and we went through all of them, and then we attached them to a feeling. So every time we work on a new memory, we'll take that memory and attach it to a feeling so that I can identify how that experience makes me feel. First thing that we tried was like a visualization where I had to watch like a ball across the screen and like try to like visualize light and things, and that didn't actually work for me. But the thing that has been working for me and what I really want to share with y'all is the EFT tapping technique. Now, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It's supposed to be a type of cognitive therapy that's paired with acupuncture. So during this process, you're thinking about the thought and you're tapping on different meridian points in your body. And while you're doing that, you're supposed to be speaking affirmations over yourself. Research actually shows that by doing this tapping technique, it can actually calm your nervous system and reduce your cortisol levels. And because stress is a huge contributor to fibroids, this is an amazing technique that somebody could use in their healing practice. So when I first started doing the EFT tapping, I thought about a traumatic experience and the negative thought, and I did my tapping up here. And I could honestly say that throughout the process of doing the EFT tapping, I experienced so much clarity and so much healing. Like, I felt it in my body. After my very first session, I noticed that the memory that we were working with, I could see it so vividly when we first started, and by the end of the session, I could no longer see it as clear as I did. And I experienced so much crying and relief in these sessions. And my therapist says that some people will make all different types of noises, barking, growling, screaming. And that's why you have to make sure that you're doing this in a space where you feel comfortable with somebody who you're comfortable with being vulnerable with. I've had people comment on my videos on here where I'm sharing my journey, and they're asking like what different type of practices I'm using on the fibroid healing journey outside of my diet and my lifestyle. And this is one of the major things that I'm doing is incorporating therapy. One of the major things is you have to find a form of therapy that works for you. And for me, the talk therapy just wasn't working well enough. It wasn't going deep enough, because my body is still holding on to the memories. And another thing that we noticed about a couple weeks ago was that your dreams also can tell you a lot about the things that you're holding on to. I realized that I was having some very vivid dreams that did not make any sense. Well, they made sense, but when I talked to my therapist about them, they made even more sense. And she told me that a lot of times your subconscious mind will create scenarios in your dreams, and that is tied to unhealed emotional wounds that you're still holding on to. So if you are somebody who's on a fibroid healing journey, some things that I would propose for you to focus on your healing journey is to consider what are some patterns that you have that may be unhealthy that you notice. What are some negative dreams that you may have? What are some negative thought patterns and limiting beliefs that you may have about yourself and just life in general? I noticed for myself that I had a lot of fear, like around money and motherhood and just life, that was not allowing me to move forward in the ways that I needed to. Trying this type of therapy is really important too if you are somebody who has dealt with like sexual assault or sexual trauma. If you dealt with any childhood abuse or even abuse in your adulthood, if you are someone who feels like they deal with a mother wound or a father wound, this is the perfect opportunity to process through these emotions with somebody. I have a therapy session once a week. So if you are somebody who has health insurance, I definitely recommend for you to look into the services that they have and see if they'll cover mental health services. And if you don't have health insurance, I believe that there are different services through like a Medicaid or something where you might be able to get access to mental health services as well. There are even therapists that you can get access to through Psychology Today that might actually work with you on a sliding scale. But I say all this to say that this healing journey is not just about your food and your drink and, you know, your lifestyle, working out, all of that stuff. All of that is really important, but another really big major component to all of this is healing that emotional part. I learned last year in my emotional and spiritual health boot camp that I was dealing with a lot of scarcity mindset. I had to really dig deep and figure out where that was coming from. And all of these things are things that I'm able to process through in therapy. My reason for coming and making this video is to let women know that the journey, it isn't linear. Like it isn't straight. It goes like this. Like there are different components and parts to this healing journey, and you just have to work at it and be consistent. And so while the symptoms may clear up, the fibroids can still exist. And until we get to the root cause of why they exist, we won't be able to experience true healing. We truly have to be mindful about how we're living our lives, and that's the lifestyle aspect of it. Because for years I was going through immense stress, unneeded stress, and just tacking on and adding on more traumatic experiences to my life. But now that I'm in the space of learning how to let go and learning how to process unhealthy and negative emotions and thought patterns, I'm in such a better space physically, emotionally, and mentally. And another reason why I continue on doing all these things that I'm doing to heal my body is also because these things that we have to heal from, we don't want to pass these down to our children. The trauma that can be stuck in our wombs and in our bodies can be generational, can be ancestral. And I believe that once we have an awareness about how to heal our bodies and what it is that's actually impacting us, we have the responsibility to stop it here. So now that I'm aware that I'm dealing with some trauma that my mom dealt with, that her mom dealt with, that her mom dealt with, that my other grandma dealt with, I have the responsibility to not pass that on to my daughter or my son who might have a daughter. We have that responsibility over our bloodlines. So I hope that this video reaches the right person. I hope that y'all found this video valuable. If you have any other questions for me on this topic or just in general about the healing journey, please let me know in the comments. I don't do all of my videos completely centered around the fibroid healing journey, and this is the reason why, because there are so many components to it, and it really is our overall holistic self-care. So if you are somebody who has been following along my fibroid healing journey, just know that all of the videos that I'm sharing are a part of the journey. And there's another point that I want to make too before I end this video, is that there are some people who will try therapy, and because it doesn't work the first time or the first few sessions, they give up. And I need for you to know that you can shop therapists. You just have to do your due diligence and make the decision that you want to heal. If the therapist that you're seeing isn't working, go find another therapist. It may take you a couple of tries or a couple of therapists to find the right one. I've literally been in therapy since I was 14, and I've had 4 therapists. And for a while, I actually stopped seeing a therapist because of the 2 negative experiences that I had. But had I allowed those 2 negative experiences keep me from seeking out therapy, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So please let me serve as a testimony and encourage you and inspire you to go get your complete healing, because you deserve it. As women, we tend to carry the emotional baggage of not just ourselves, but the other people around us. And we oftentimes don't tell people how this is affecting us. And your body is holding on to that. Your shoulder's hurting because you carrying everybody else's bags. Your back is hurting because you carrying everybody else's stuff. Your knees is hurting because you're struggling to move forward. Your hips is hurting because you're struggling to move forward. Womb all messed up because you lost your creativity. You don't do none of your hobbies, and you carrying around all this stress and thoughts and things that you never told nobody about. And it's time for us to let all this stuff go. It's time for us to break free and to get free and to get the life that we deserve. And this journey is not overnight. The healing doesn't happen overnight. We didn't develop these fibroids overnight. It's a continual journey. Once you learn the things that you need to put in place, you just have to continue on doing them. So we've learned how to be plant-based. We've learned how to decrease our stress by doing yoga and mindful and journaling. Now we're learning how to let go of things that no longer serve us. Let 2025 be the year that you focus on you. Hell, let the end of 2024 be the beginning. Well, all right, loved ones. That is all that I have for you all in this video today. Always remember to be bold, be joyful, and always be fully loving yourself. And I will catch you in the next video. Bye.